A Chinese electric car just charged 400 kilometers of range in 5 minutes. That's not a typo, not a concept, not a prototype sitting in a lab. It's a production vehicle rolling off a factory line right now, and it does what the entire Western auto industry said was impossible. The problem that killed electric cars for 3 decades wasn't the battery. It was the clock. 30 minutes plugged into a charger while gas cars refuel in 3. That gap kept EVs in the niche. China just closed it, 5 minutes. The same time it takes to grab a coffee. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why Detroit, Stuttgart, and Palo Alto are scrambling. Here's what the world looked like 2 months ago. Tesla's supercharger, the fastest in the West, adds around 270 kilometers in 15 minutes. Mercedes' new high-speed network gets you 325 kilometers in 10. That was the benchmark. The thing the entire industry called cutting edge. And it still meant you stood there for 10, 15, 30 minutes every time the battery ran low. That's the invisible wall. The reason electric cars stayed at 14% of the global market while gas held 86%. Because no one wants to schedule their life around a charging station. China looked at that wall and said, "Watch this." March 2025, BYD walks onto a stage in Shenzhen and unveils something they call the Super E platform. The room goes quiet because the number on the screen says 400 kilometers in 5 minutes. Not a concept, not a maybe someday roadmap. A production-ready platform already integrated into vehicles you can buy. The charging power hits 1,000 kilowatts. That's megawatt-level charging in a consumer car. The math works out to 2 kilometers of range per second. You plug in, you count to 5. You walk back to a car that can drive to the next city. Tesla's best charger does around 18 kilometers per minute. BYD just tripled it. Then CATL, the battery giant that supplies half the world's EVs, steps in. They call it the Shenzhen second generation, and they beat BYD's number. 520 kilometers in 5 minutes. Peak charging power, 1.3 megawatts. Total range on a full charge, 800 kilometers. That's farther than most gas cars go on a tank. The chemistry is lithium iron phosphate, cheaper than the nickel cobalt cells the West uses, more stable, less likely to catch fire, and somehow faster to charge. CATL filed the patents in 2024. By 2025, they had it in production. The gap isn't closing, it's widening. If you love stories the West ignores until it's too late, hit like and subscribe. We cover the shifts most people miss. Now here's why this matters. The number one reason people don't buy electric cars isn't the price. It's not the range. It's the refueling ritual. You pull into a gas station, you're out in 3 minutes. You pull into a charger, you wait. You plan your route around charging stations. You sit in a parking lot for 20 minutes hoping the charger works. That friction is psychological. It's the invisible line between adoption and resistance. China just erased it. Because 5 minutes is the threshold where charging stops feeling like a compromise and starts feeling like refueling. Let's break down how they did it. Megawatt charging means pushing over 1,000 kilowatts into a battery without melting it. That's the engineering problem. Heat. You dump that much power into a cell, the temperature spikes. The battery degrades. The chemistry breaks down. So CATL and BYD redesigned the entire thermal system. Liquid cooling channels run through every cell. The charger talks to the car in real time, adjusting voltage and current to keep the temperature stable. The cables are thicker. The connectors are built for 1,000 amps. And the battery itself uses lithium iron phosphate chemistry, which handles heat better than nickel cobalt. It's not one breakthrough. It's 10 small ones stacked together. Here's the gap. Tesla's V4 supercharger, the newest in the network, maxes out at 250 kilowatts. That gets you around 18 kilometers per minute. BYD and CATL are running at 4 times that power. The infrastructure is already live. CATL has megawatt chargers installed in 15 Chinese cities. BYD is rolling them out with every new Super E platform vehicle. Meanwhile, the West is still debating standards. The Charin Alliance, the group that sets European and American charging protocols, only finalized the megawatt charging spec in late 2024. China had working chargers a year earlier. The West is writing the rules. China is already playing the game. Now the numbers side by side. Tesla Supercharger V4, 270 kilometers in 15 minutes. Mercedes ultra-fast network, 325 kilometers in 10 minutes. BYD Super E platform, 400 kilometers in 5 minutes. CATL Shenxing Gen 2, 520 kilometers in 5 minutes. The pattern is clear. China isn't just ahead, it's operating on a different timeline, and the infrastructure gap makes it worse. The US has around 60,000 public chargers total. China installed 120,000 in 2024 alone. The West is counting chargers. China is counting megawatts. There's a catch. Megawatt charging puts stress on the battery. The faster you charge, the faster the cells degrade. CATL and BYD both claim their new chemistry handles it better, but the long-term data isn't in yet. 5 years from now, we'll know if these batteries hold up. And right now, the infrastructure is limited. The megawatt chargers work with specific BYD and CATL-equipped vehicles. You can't plug a Tesla into a CATL megawatt charger and get the same speed. The ecosystem is closed. But here's the thing. The weakness isn't the technology, it's the rollout. And China is rolling it out faster than the West can even design the spec. This is where the underdog story gets interesting. CATL started in 1999 in a small city called Ningde. The founder, Zheng Yuchun, was an engineer who studied battery chemistry in the US and came back to China with one question. Why does the West control the entire battery supply chain? He borrowed money, built a factory, spent 10 years making batteries for phones and laptops while everyone ignored him. Then 2010 happened. China announced it was going all in on electric vehicles. CATL pivoted overnight. By 2020, they were the largest EV battery maker on Earth. 37% of the global market. They supply Tesla, BMW, Volkswagen, and almost every Chinese automaker. The man nobody noticed now controls the thing everyone needs. BYD's story is even wilder. The founder, Wang Chuanfu, started with $3,000 making rechargeable batteries for phones in 1995. No one in China was doing it. He reverse-engineered Sony batteries, built the machines himself, and undercut everyone on price. By 2003, he had enough money to buy a failing car company. Everyone laughed. A battery guy making cars. Then he built the first mass-market plug-in hybrid in 2008, the F3DM. It flopped, but he kept going. By 2022, BYD outsold Tesla globally, and now they're the ones setting the megawatt charging standard. The refrigerator parts guy from Shenzhen just redefined what a car can do. Now let's talk about what this does to the West. Tesla built its empire on the supercharger network. It was the moat. The thing that kept buyers locked into Tesla because no other network was as fast or as reliable. That moat just cracked. Because when a Chinese car can charge 400 kilometers in the time it takes a Tesla to charge 90, the value proposition flips. The West has better software, better autopilot, better brand cachet. But none of that matters if the car is plugged in for 3 times as long. And the cost gap makes it worse. A BYD Seagull, a small EV with this new charging tech, costs $10,000 in China. A Tesla Model 3 starts at $40,000. The gap isn't narrowing, it's a canyon. The European automakers are in the same bind. Mercedes, BMW, Audi, they spent decades building their brands on luxury and engineering precision. But when a Chinese EV charges twice as fast and costs half as much, luxury becomes a harder sell. Porsche's Taycan Turbo S costs $180,000. It charges reasonably fast for a Western car, but it's still slower than a $50,000 BYD Han. The math stops making sense, and the tariffs won't save them. The European Union slapped tariffs on Chinese EVs in 2024. It didn't slow BYD down. They just started building factories in Hungary and Poland. The cars are still cheaper, still faster to charge. The tariff bought time. It didn't stop the clock. So what happens next? Here's the shift. The moment charging an EV takes the same time as filling a gas tank, the psychological barrier disappears. Range anxiety dies. The guy who said he'd never buy an EV because he doesn't have time to wait starts rethinking. The fleet manager who wrote off electric trucks because downtime kills profit margins starts running the numbers again. The rental car company that avoided EVs because turnaround time was too slow suddenly has a reason to pivot. 5-minute charging doesn't just make EVs viable, it makes them the default. And China has the infrastructure live right now. The West is still debating the standard. The second thing that happens, China starts exporting the infrastructure. They're not just building cars, they're building the charging networks in Southeast Asia, Africa, and South America. Countries that never had robust gas station networks are skipping straight to megawatt EV charging. It's the same playbook they ran with high-speed rail and 5G. Build it at home. Perfect it. Export it before the West finishes the design phase. And the governments buying it don't care about the geopolitics. They care that it works, and it's cheaper. The energy transition isn't going to be led by California or Germany. It's going to be led by Shenzhen and Ningde. And the infrastructure they build will lock in the standard for the next 50 years. The farmer's son, who started with $3,000 making phone batteries, just set the standard for how the world refuels. The unknown engineer from a small coastal city now supplies the batteries in 4 out of every 10 electric cars on Earth. And the problem that killed electric cars for 30 years, the clock, is gone. Not because the West solved it, because China did. The future of transportation wasn't decided in Detroit, Stuttgart, or Palo Alto. It got decided in Shenzhen and Ningde. Subscribe and turn on notifications. The next story coming out of China makes this look small. Would you buy an EV if it charged in 5 minutes? Drop your answer below. I read every one.